Hi, I'm Jason Houtsmer from Worship Artistry, and this is a cram session for the song The Joy by The Belonging Co. Now, here's the thing. We all know that as worship musicians, we're supposed to practice ahead of time. We're supposed to know all our parts, and it's way more satisfying to do that. But I know by looking at the analytics on worshipartistry.com, a lot of you are just practicing the night before. I'm hoping you're just getting a little refreshed, but I think a lot of people are learning if they're anything like I was in college. First things first, we always pull up the chord chart because understanding how the song is laid out is very, very helpful to us. Now, obviously, D flat, E flat minor, G flat, let's be honest, guitar players rarely play in that. And I will say specifically that the one who recorded on this song used a capo. So I'm just gonna copy them. And we're gonna go first fret and life's gonna get a whole lot easier for us. Now, this song really comes down to a big intro riff in the beginning. There's kind of this moving guitar line and arpeggio down here in verse 1 and in verse 2. I teach those on the website, but we're not gonna focus on that because there's a much easier way to just kind of lock in if we're running out of time. And then on the chorus, it actually uses the riff from the intro with some variations. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into chords and help you kind of not have to worry about the variations, and then you'll be able to use that for all the choruses. And then finally, on the bridge, we're in great shape because we just keep using the same riff over and over, and all the other instruments build around us. So that's what we're gonna do for this song, and then we'll have everything we need to play along. For my tone on this song, I'm using Nick's Quad Cortex, and I'm using some tone shepherd captures, so of course they sound really good. I've got a little bit of drive, and the only main thing that I change is I do throw on an octave pedal, an octave effect, I guess I should say, just to help fill out the sound of the main riff. And there's also a dual delay on it. So that's what I got going on tone-wise, but let's actually get into the riff. Can't miss this riff. It comes in right off the top. It sounds like this. So this is another one of those songs that has the capo on the first fret, so it throws all the dots off. So we are essentially in relationship to the capo on the 5th fret. It does look like the 6th fret, so we'll kind of try and talk about it that way. But we're essentially just walking up that G, just important to use your pinky for that because it puts us in position. And the beauty of this riff is it starts and ends on the same note. So you just repeat it again. So we're walking up. And that is the main riff for the song. You're gonna use that for the intro. And then for the choruses, we're gonna do the same thing. It kind of follows the melody. But then when it gets to Oh My Soul, Bless His Name, there's kind of some changes that happen. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just turn off our octave and just play the chords there, because that's much easier to remember. So, oh my soul, bless His name, all that is within me say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And then you're right back in for your intro. So that is the intro riff and the chorus riff. They are both essentially the same idea, right? Now, the only other main parts are on the verses. It's kind of this moving line. It comes in on verse 1, well, it comes in halfway through verse 1. So halfway through verse 1, forget about the riff. It's kind of this like moving, some things going on with that. We're not gonna worry about that. If you want to check that out, it is on Worship Artistry with tabs and practice loops and all that. But for us, since we're cramming. We're just gonna do a palm muted eighth note down strum, and just emphasizing the bass. Really just following through, and it fits really well with what the instruments are doing. You could hear it right here.
This is where I believe you are more than enough for me. You are
So that's a real simple part. It'll work for both verses. Like I said, maybe start halfway through the first verse, but honestly, depending on your band situation, you might want to jump in right off the top. You'll be in good shape. Finally, let's take a look at this bridge. Now, it's kind of a long bridge, but we keep playing the same thing. It's going to sound like this.
overflowing, Holy Spirit, let it rise like a river, overflowing, Holy Spirit, let it pour.
And all that is starting on the 7th fret in relationship to the capo. Looks like 8, right? Just back and forth. All that is like a D chord shape. And you can either let them ring out or kind of do individual notes. I think they sound best as individual notes, but it's up to you. And then the second move is down here on what looks like 7. And you're just borrowing that G and B string, and then you start with your middle finger. And just back and forth. And then everything else is building around it. So if you want to get kind of a little louder with it, if your band needs a little bit of emphasis, you can always kind of start doubling your picking pattern, but still just following the same melody, and you'll be in good shape. So that's it for this one. It is just hitting those palm muted bass notes on the verses, hitting that big intro riff, utilizing that same riff on the chorus, and then bringing that bridge riff, and that'll get you by. If you want to learn the whole song with all the details, or maybe you want the rest of your band to learn the whole song with all the details, check out worshipartistry.com. We've got over 700 songs with all kinds of stuff. But get practicing, because you got to play tomorrow.